So it's time for the action to begin at the third World Cup of the season here at the Ibrahim Çolak Gymnasium in Antalya, Turkey. Dynamism, artistry, and gravity-defying feats will be on display as the men's floor routines will get underway very shortly with this third World Cup of the season. And it's time to welcome the contenders for the final. Well, as the name suggests, floor gymnastics are done at ground level without the use of any equipment. The athletes will perform to music with athletic movements set in a dance choreography. The 8 contenders for the final came through qualification. So if you're new to artistic World Cups, we'll have a split warm-up routine. The first 4 in the lineup will warm up right now and then come out and do their routines. Then we'll have another little mini warm-up period for athletes 5, 6, 7 and 8. Utilization of the floor is a must, and you're looking for big jumps, leaps and tumbles to get the scores high. And these are the individuals who will be marking the athletes. Some rule changes between last year and this year as we go into a new Olympic cycle. Means that there are now just 8 counting elements reduced from 10, including the dismount. New dismounts will affect the athletes' routines. The other big change is that the length of the routine has been reduced from 75 seconds to 70 seconds. Top qualifier, Taylor Burkhart from the United States of America, will go 6th. And he's got a little bit of a lead in terms of his qualification score over the rest of the 8 finalists. But those 7 that sit below Taylor Burkhart are actually crammed up pretty tightly in terms of qualification scores. Benny Tomszani from Hungary, wearing 125. It's a 23-year-old from Budapest who will kick things off. So Benedikt Tomszani, the 23-year-old from Budapest, will get the men's floor routines underway. A 13.367 was his score in qualification. Been a happy hunting ground for Benny Tomszani. Confidence building start. Very nicely done. The things you're looking for: form, smoothness, stability on landing, all looking very good. Little extra step there on that landing. Now the new element this year, the balance element. Got through that pretty quickly. But all in all, a good start from Benedict Tomshani, and with the bunch behind the American top qualifier, Taylor Burkhart, all pretty tight. So it'll be an interesting score. Well, work done. Very well-known athlete on the World Cup circuit. Let's take a look back at Benny Tomshani's routine. Solid landing on the first tumble. The floor work was excellent. .13.367 scored in qualification. Difficulty of 5.1 for that routine, which wasn't the lowest of the 8 qualifiers. The medals could be contested here on execution scores. So 13.3 dead, a little lower. Second in the lineup, Ante Hribar from Slovenia, hailing from Ljubljana, the 22-year-old. Scored 13.567 in qualification. Just stepping out of the field of play there. Points will be docked. He's an improving athlete, the Slovenian. Continuing to build his World Cup experience here by making his first final. That's very solid indeed. Certainly getting a lot of height in his jumps, but there are a few marks potentially going down as his sister looks on. She'll be competing a little bit later on today. Scored 8.567 for execution in qualification. Understand the nerves that Hribar would have been experiencing This was solid though, very stable. Just a little correction at the end. The first tumble just resulted in one step moving outside of the field of play, and that could damage Krybar's hopes. Anxiously waiting for that score. 13-3 was set, but a 13-6-6-7 moves the Slovenian up into top spot. Now for Norway's 20-year-old Sebastian Sponevic. It's from a little town just outside Oslo called Lørenskog, which boasts a surprising number of top athletes, including the 2004 Olympic sailing champion Silje Sundby, and a two-time Olympic javelin athlete, Trine Hattestad. Of inspiration there, but the first landing from Sponevic not going as he would have wished. Good recovery though. Little correction required there. Now different balance position. And again, execution was the issue there for a second time in the routine. Didn't quite go the way Sebastian Sponevic would have liked. He's going to get marked down a couple of times there. First World Cup final for the Norwegian as well. (13.533) in qualification for Sponevic. Difficulties in the higher range. That affected his execution. He's never quite still in the scale. Well, difficulty high, execution the tricky bit. Scored 8.033 on execution through qualification. Finished 6th in the lineup for this final. So, a disappointing score for Sponevic. And that was down to a few errors on the floor. Now, the biggest cheer so far is for Emirhan Kartin from Turkey, just 18 years old, making his senior international debut. So, it's an incredible feat to have made the final here in the floor event for Kartin. 7th through qualification with a 13.433. That's sit back and see what he's got to offer to his home crowd. Well, it could have gone a lot worse than that, especially after that early error of stepping outside the lines. Emirhan could have let that get to him, but he didn't. He spotted two absolutely spectacular landings, the first two tumble routines, straight after stepping out of the field of play. A tricky one for the judges here to judge, because other than that mistake right at the beginning, that didn't look bad at all. 13.667 the score to beat at the moment. They absolutely nailed that landing. Starting to get the feeling the athletes are still not quite comfortable with the new scale or balance element that's been introduced this year. So 13.667, the score to beat at the moment. Standard stepped up a little bit here because 13.667 was the score for the second best qualifier for this floor final. And a 13.2 puts him into provisional third place. Now the athletes warm up for the second rotation. Man standing on the edge there, Chuang Qilung from Chinese Taipei. He's due to go up next. We're also going to see this man here, Yang Yanji. First final of the season for the athlete from the People's Republic of China. He's the man to beat, Taylor Burkhart from Arvada, Colorado. Completing the second rotation, Tanida Masaharu from Fukui in Japan. Second best through qualification. So the top four through qualification will fill the second rotation. And we start with Chuang Qilung, a 22-year-old from Chinese Taipei. Competed in challenger events before, but not at the World Cup. This is his debut. Very good indeed, the best we've seen so far. Well, that's new as well. Going into the balance from the floor. Very good indeed from Chuang Qilun from Chinese Taipei. The benchmark currently set by Shibar of 13.667. Fancy the difficulty of Chuang's routine there. It's just a touch higher. Did step out of the field of play once though. Nervy weight. .4267 scored by Burkhardt in qualification. Take a look back at Chuang. There's the mistake. Stepping outside the lines.
Yes, please, for exercise finalists. United States of America.
.13667 then score to beat. He wants to be as far above that as he possibly can, Chuang. And it's a 13.334. Penalty for stepping out of the field of play, but the difficulty actually down at 4.7. 4.9 in that qualification. Here's the top qualifier. Taylor Burkhardt from the United States of America. The Stanford University student is 22 years old. Big but quick adjustment on landing. Felt like he had to fight that one to stay inside the field of play. Couple of adjustments on landing, but otherwise very smooth. Balance wasn't quite still, but I don't think we've seen anyone in that scale position holding it completely still. Good wide arms handstand that was pretty solid. Tumbling, other than a couple of landings, it was pretty good. .4 difficulty in qualification, 8.767 on execution. That's the one where you thought he just had to fight to stay in the field of play, but then nails a couple of landings. This was good, and this floor work was, well, sublime. Coach happy. So we await the scores. This could be big. He wants to be at the top, that's for sure. With Yang and Tanida to follow. This is critical for Burkhardt. Of the 2022 Pan American Championships gold medal winning team for the USA. Taking the junior Pan Am champs back in 2018, the team competition as well. So already for university student, he's got some big medals in his trophy cabinet. Well, moves up into first place. That's a bit of a drop from his qualification score of 14.267, but a 13.934 enough to go top of the pile, and that guarantees the American at least the bronze medal. Yang Ji up next. 13.6 dead he scored in qualification. Difficulty score for his routine as well through qualies. First final of the season for Yang Ji, and another one to go clear outside the boundaries. Oh, and that could scupper his podium chances. Yeah, you can understand the face at the end there from the man from Guangxi. Guang meaning expanse, and yes, you are supposed to use as much of the floor as you possibly can. Travel across the expanse, but he went a little bit further than that, and a couple of the landings were not spot on. Difficulty in qualification, 5.5. Execution, 8.3. But a couple of penalties as well through quali. Ended up with a 13.6. As we take a look back at his finals performance. That first tumble routine going just outside the lines. Japan's going down in the last tumble. Something about 13.667. Well, it's nowhere near, and that's down to poor execution. 6.0 lower than even his qualification. So Yang out of the medals. Current standings: Burkhardt top of the pile from Hribar and Chuang. And here's our last contender, Tanida Masaharu from Japan, just 20 years old, qualified second of the Japanese team that won gold at the 2023 Junior World Championships right here in Antalya. Very nice indeed so far. Well, he could be pretty happy with that. I'm sure that's enough for the podium. Is it enough to challenge Burkhardt's 13.934? I think he thinks it is. I think it's going to be pretty close here. Anything above 13.334 and Tanida is on the podium. He's looking to challenge the 13.934 set by Taylor Burkhardt of the United States of America for the gold medal. Landings were pretty good. The last one, perhaps the one with the biggest adjustment. But everything else pretty smooth. Perhaps not quite as complex as Burkhardt on the floor. He thinks he's done enough. And it's not quite. 13.434. Can't quite believe it himself, but it does mean that he moves into third position, because a remarkable performance from the second runner, Ansi Hribar from Slovenia, has put him up into the silver medal position. Classified results then: Taylor Burkhardt of the USA, top of the pile with gold. time now for the men's floor medal ceremony here at the Antalya Artistic Gymnastics World Cup. Bronze medal going to Tanida Masaharu of Japan. Ansei Hribar of Slovenia collecting the silver. But like Lewis Ralston, who first found gold in the Rocky Mountains, Colorado's Taylor Burkhart has claimed his first World Cup gold medal from the United States of America. Unorthodox for all medalists to be given their medals at the same time, but it's quick. Taylor Burkhart from the United States of America taking the men's floor gold medal here. Ansei Hribar from Slovenia claiming a silver, and Tanida Masaharu with bronze.